Hi, it's Lee from ColouringQueen.net, and today I want to show you Romantic Country, the third tale. Now this is the English edition. I'm going to compare it with the Japanese edition that I've reviewed previously. Now as you can see from the front covers, there's a couple of little changes about the books. You'll notice that the English cover has a bit more vibrancy to it than the Japanese cover, and that's because they've used a glossy matte dust jacket rather than a more matte dust jacket on the Japanese edition. Both have fold out flaps and it's all identical there. One other difference is that the English edition has the little badge on the front left hand side there, which indicates that there's some colouring cards in the back of the book. Now those colouring cards are also in the Japanese book as well, and they're just highlighting it by putting in that little badge on the front. You'll see that the books measure approximately the same size. There's about a millimetre of difference. You'll see that the English book has the third tale written in a very small font down on the spine, but other than that they pretty well are the same. The back covers are the same. There's just a bit of a difference there where the barcode and the English publishers have put their logo, but other than that they're the same. The cover does look a lot more vibrant though on the English edition because of the different paper, the glossier paper that they've used on the dust jacket. Now, I don't know whether you can see or not, but there's like 1 millimetre difference in the sizing of the books, with the English one being the one that's slightly bigger. So it's about a millimetre, and not a lot in the scheme of things. And when we open up the English edition, we've got that craft cover. And on the Japanese edition, we've got the same thing. It's just a different shade of craft paper cover. So the Japanese one is more of a tanny brown, whereas the English one is more of a goldeny brown craft cover. Other than that, the illustrations are the same. It's just a different colour. Now, the book has a plain text title page, just as in the Japanese edition. But this time everything's written in English, and it's really so nice to be able to see the story now and really get involved in the world of Coco that Eriy has created for us. Now looking at them both together, you'll notice that the Japanese edition has got a slightly whiter paper than the English edition, which is more of a creamy paper. But the Japanese edition has a sort of a dull brown type ink, or dull brown black ink that's used on the printing, whereas the English edition has a brighter black ink, which is much easier to see, especially if you have a visual impairment. So we've got our lovely map of Coco and all the islands surrounding it, and all of that text is in English now, so we can see and read it and know all about these islands that surround the world of Coco. And continuing on with the story of Elena and her duck, we find out a little bit more that the grandfather has sent her a gift, and that sort of is the prelude to the whole story within this colouring book. That's what I always like about Eriy's work. There's so much thought that goes into it to create this imaginary world that, completely takes you into the world. You see we've got a couple of differences here. The only difference really, you'll see that here, instead of on the banner with the Japanese text and the Japanese writing depicting the names of things, we just have those in English, and there's no Japanese text on the ribbon there for the north of Coco. Now I've only opened up the book once, it just arrived today, and and it's folding over very easily. I think it will fold down even easier when I've opened it a few times. And as we dive into the book a little bit more, you can start to notice that the pages are folding down easier as I keep turning it. Now you can see here the difference in the colour of the line art. You can see on the English edition it's a lot blacker, so far easier to see, especially if you have a visual impairment. Now we're up to chapter 2, the peaceful days in the south. We've got lots of little farm scenes and fruit and vegetables to colour in this part of the book. And as I'm turning the pages over, I've been smoothing them down because by the end of the book they should lay down pretty well. And in chapter 3 we're going to the islands, and so we're getting a close-up look at some of those islands that were on the map at the beginning of the book. And chapter 4, we've got some good times with Elena and her beautiful duck Jose. I always think those small images are great to colour in if you don't have a lot of time. If you ever want inspiration for romantic country, I've got a whole Pinterest board set up there with completed pages from the book, and there's some beautiful coloured pictures on there to inspire you. So chapter 5, we're going into the secret forest. This is where Eriy really has just done an excellent job. She's included mermaids and fairies and witches and Halloween and all the things that colourists love to colour. She's managed to include in all of her books, which is, really quite amazing. We've got these cute little elves and pixies. Now at the back we can finally read what it is that's written here. So we get some information on all of the little parts of the book, like the canning of the vegetables and the art gallery, all of the little things that have been included in the book that we previously just had the picture to help us with, and we didn't know what the text was if English is our only language. So now we can finally learn about that art gallery and learn about the canning of the vegetables and this whole little fantasy world that Eriy lives in and has gone to so much trouble to create. I've never seen another colouring book that has such depth to it as the Romantic Country series. This just whole fantasy life. It's just amazing. And to think that she creates all of this art with toothpicks. Now at the back of the book we've got a little bonus, and it's these little colouring cards to create a little art scene. Now this is another difference between the Japanese edition and the English edition. The Japanese edition also has these little colouring cards to make this little scene, but they're printed on different paper. They're printed on cardstock in the Japanese edition. So that's thick card that's been specially inserted into the book that's different from the normal paper within the colouring book. and so you can make that little scene. Whereas in the English edition, the little cutouts at the end for the scene creation are on the same medium quality paper that's within the rest of the book. So it's not separate cardstock, it's the same paper as being used in the rest of the book. And we finally got those instructions in English so that we can read them. And on the back we've got that lovely craft cover and that beautiful dust jacket. So that's it for Romantic Country 3, the last of the Romantic Country books, unless Eriy makes another one for us. And that's the comparison between the English edition and the Japanese edition. Both have medium quality paper, both have a dust jacket. The only differences really are in those colouring cards at the back, and a slight difference in colour in the paper and in the ink. Until next time, happy colouring.